Welcome to Rethink SPY, everyone. We're so glad you're here with us today. If you love inspiring and motivational stories, you're in the right place. Before we dive into today's story, we have a small favor to ask. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon so you won't miss any of our amazing content. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep bringing you stories that matter. Here at Rethink SPY, as the name suggests, we aim at offering another chance, inspiring you to rethink your possibilities and embrace new beginnings. Today, we have a truly remarkable story about a man named Jim and his incredible journey from the depths of debt to financial freedom. It's a story of struggle, perseverance, and ultimately, triumph. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. I remember the day vividly. Jim was sitting in his old, worn-out chair, staring at a mountain of bills on his kitchen table. The expression on his face was one of sheer hopelessness. He had been trapped in a cycle of debt for years, and it seemed there was no way out. Each loan he took out to pay off the last one only sank him deeper into the quicksand of financial despair. His misery was palpable, and it pained me to see my friend in such a state. Jim's life had become a never-ending loop of borrowing and repaying. He worked tirelessly, but no matter how much he earned, it was never enough. The interest rates on his loans were crippling, and he could barely keep up with the minimum payments. Every time he managed to scrape together enough to pay off one loan, another expense would arise, forcing him to take out yet another loan. It was a vicious cycle, and it seemed impossible to break free. One day, Jim received a call from a debt collector that shook him to his core. The collector threatened legal action if he didn't come up with the money soon. It was a wake-up call for Jim. He realized that if he didn't make some drastic changes, he would lose everything. This moment of clarity was the first step toward his journey out of debt. Jim decided to seek help. He reached out to a financial advisor who specialized in debt management. The advisor helped Jim understand his financial situation in detail, explaining where he was going wrong and how he could start to make things right. It was a daunting task, but Jim felt a glimmer of hope for the first time in years. The first thing the advisor did was help Jim create a strict budget. They listed all of Jim's expenses and compared them to his income. It was clear that Jim needed to make some serious cuts to his spending. The advisor taught Jim how to differentiate between needs and wants, and together they crafted a budget that prioritized paying off his debts. The advisor introduced Jim to the snowball method of debt repayment. They listed all of Jim's debts from smallest to largest. The plan was to pay off the smallest debt first while making minimum payments on the others. Once the smallest debt was paid off, Jim would move on to the next one, using the money he had been paying on the first debt to attack the second. This method gave Jim a sense of accomplishment and kept him motivated. Jim made some tough decisions to cut his expenses. He stopped eating out, canceled subscriptions, and started cooking at home. He sold items he no longer needed and found ways to save on everyday expenses. It wasn't easy, but Jim was determined to stick to his budget and get out of debt. To speed up the process, Jim looked for ways to increase his income. He took on a part-time job in the evenings and started freelancing on weekends. The extra money he earned went directly toward paying off his debts. It was exhausting, but Jim knew it was the only way to get out of the hole he was in. The advisor stressed the importance of having an emergency fund. Jim started setting aside a small amount of money each month, building up a cushion for unexpected expenses. This fund gave Jim peace of mind and prevented him from having to take out more loans when emergencies arose. As the months went by, Jim stayed disciplined. He followed his budget, made his debt payments, and resisted the urge to take on new debt. There were times when he felt tempted to splurge, but he reminded himself of his goal and stayed focused. The progress he was making was slow, but it was steady. Jim celebrated each small win along the way. Every time he paid off a debt, he treated himself to something small and affordable. These celebrations kept him motivated and reminded him of how far he had come. It was important for Jim to acknowledge his progress and stay positive. Jim also learned to forgive himself for past mistakes. He had made some poor financial decisions, but he realized that beating himself up over them wouldn't help. Instead, he focused on learning from those mistakes and making better choices in the future. This mindset shift was crucial for his journey. Jim leaned on his friends and family for support. He shared his goals with them and asked for their encouragement. Having a support system made a big difference. Whenever Jim felt discouraged, his friends would remind him of his progress and cheer him on. With the advisor's help, Jim started negotiating with his creditors. He explained his situation and asked for lower interest rates or more manageable payment plans. To his surprise, some creditors were willing to work with him. These negotiations helped reduce Jim's monthly payments and made his debt more manageable. Jim immersed himself in financial education. He read books, listened to podcasts, and attended workshops on personal finance. The more he learned, the more empowered he felt. He gained new strategies for managing his money and staying out of debt in the future. Jim made a firm commitment to avoid taking on new debt. He cut up his credit cards and vowed to live within his means. This decision required discipline, but it was a crucial part of his plan. Jim knew that avoiding new debt was the only way to achieve financial freedom. After months of hard work, Jim reached a turning point. He had paid off several debts and was making significant progress on the remaining ones. The weight on his shoulders began to lighten, and he felt a renewed sense of hope. Jim could finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. Eventually, Jim paid off his last debt. It was a moment of pure joy and relief. He was finally free from the cycle of borrowing and repaying. Jim had achieved financial independence, and it felt incredible. He celebrated this milestone with his friends and family, who had supported him throughout his journey. Inspired by his own journey, Jim decided to give back. He started volunteering at a local financial literacy program, helping others who were struggling with debt. Jim shared his story and offered practical advice to those in need. His experience became a source of inspiration for many. With his debt behind him, Jim started a new chapter in his life. He continued to live within his means, saving and investing for the future. Jim's journey out of debt had taught him valuable lessons about perseverance, discipline, and the power of hope. His story was a testament to the fact that no matter how deep the hole, there is always a way out. Thank you for joining us for Jim's incredible journey. If you found this story inspiring, please subscribe to Rethink Spy and click the bell icon so you won't miss any of our future stories. Here at Rethink Spy, we aim to offer another chance, bringing you inspirational stories on finance, success, tragic and scary tales, successful personalities, and other untold events from around the world. Our goal is not to scare you but to help you learn and use these lessons to overcome challenges and regain lost hope. Remember, there's always a way out, and we're here to help you find it.